Hi, hello, welcome to Vital Biology. This is Padma. In this video, we will study about regulation of respiration. As we know that when the persons are in a resting phase, their respiration rate is about like 12 to 16 times per minute. That is in the case of the adults. If we will observe in the case of the children, in them the respiration rate is 16 to 20 times per minute at the resting phase. That means normally in a comparison, we can say that in the case of the children, the respiration rate is more when compared with the adults. But in the case of the adults also, few of the situations we can observe where the respiration rate may increase. So when the respiration rate increases, that we can explain it with the help of one of a word which is called as the hyperpnea. So hyperpnea means increased respiration rate. So why do the respiration rate will increase means, like for example, when we have fever or otherwise the metabolic needs are increased, or even in the case of the strenuous exercises. Yes, at the time the oxygen demand will be more in our body, so that's why the respiration rate will increase. So that condition is called as the hyperpnea. Opposite word is the bradypnea. So bradypnea means there will be a decrease of the respiration rate. That means the respiration rate is less than this 12 to 16 times per minute. And for that, the reasons are like some of the obstructive pulmonary disorders, or sometimes it may be because of some neurological disorders. Okay, so in those situations, the respiration rate may decrease than the normal respiration rate. And further, yes, here we are using a term that is of the bradypnea. Now, how come this type of the adjustment actually occurs? Who will regulate this? When to increase and when to decrease the respiration rate, and when it should be the normal respiration. So this entire process actually we will study under the heading that is of the regulation of respiration. If we will go into the detail of that, so actually this entire regulation process is controlled by a neural system. And in our brain, we have a various respiratory regions or the centers which can control the respiration. Okay, in our brain, we have certain regulatory centers which can control the respiration process. And not only in brain, but also few of the blood vessels which are connected to the heart. In their walls also, they have some receptors which can sense this carbon dioxide and the hydrogen ion levels in the blood, and according to that make the adjustments in the respiration. So what are those centers? What are those sensitive areas which can sense that carbon dioxide and the hydrogen? That here we can see. So the first one here they said the respiratory rhythm center. Okay, respiratory rhythm center which is located in the medullary region of the brain. And the second is the pneumotactic center which is present in the pons region, that is at the brain stem. And the third, chemosensitive area, that is present somewhat adjacent to the respiratory rhythm center. Okay, adjacent to the respiratory rhythm center. And few of the receptors even they are associated with the aortic arch and the carotid artery. So those we can found in the case of the walls of those arteries. Okay, that is in the aortic artery and as well as in the case of the carotid artery. And if we will observe their location, so here especially we have to see those two specific regions. One is the medulla and another one is the pons. Okay, medullary region and the pons. As we have studied that in the case of the medulla, we can observe one of a center which is called as the respiratory rhythm center. Okay, respiratory rhythm center. So this respiratory rhythm center actually helps in regulation of respiration. Okay, so during the exercises or otherwise during the resting phase. So in this way, when it should be normal, when it should be increased, so such a regulation is under the control of this respiratory rhythm center. And this respiratory rhythm center is located in the medullary region of the brain. Okay. And the second one which we said, that is of the pneumotactic center. Okay. Pneumotactic center. So that pneumotactic center, so here you can see this is the pneumotactic center which is present in the pons varoli of the brain. Okay. Pons varoli of the brain. So in that region, one of the center is located, which we said as pneumotaxic center. Pneumotaxic center, which is present in the pons region of the brain, so that have a capacity to reduce the duration of respiration and alter the respiratory rate. Okay. So what is the meaning of that? So reducing the duration of respiration. So here, from inspiration to expiration, whatever the interval, okay, how much the time duration which we are taking for inspiration, how much we are taking for the expiration. So that time will be reduced here. Because of that reduction in the timing, obviously we can see the difference in the rate of respiration. That means here the rate of respiration will be increased. Okay, when the intervals will be get reduced or the duration will be get reduced, yes, definitely whatever we said in 1 minute about 12 to 16 times we are actually breathing, that will be increased. Okay, so here you can see reducing the duration of respiration and alter the respiration rate. Alter, in what way it alters? By increasing the respiration rate. So generally this process occurs when we will go for the strenuous exercises, because there will be a more demand of the oxygen, and according to that this shallow breaths we will take, and by which the respiration rate can be increased and a continuous supply of the oxygen can be supplied to the body. And one more area, that is the chemosensitive area. Okay, chemosensitive area. So this chemosensitive area is actually present, that is in the adjacent to the respiratory rhythm center. So here actually we have mentioned in this diagram it as the, see, this one as the expiratory center and the inspiratory center. So together it is nothing but the respiratory rhythm center, as which we told that is located in the medullary region. Okay, as previously what we told is respiratory rhythm center is present in the medullary region. So that respiratory rhythm center in this picture we have represented in two different spots. One act as the expiratory center, one act as the inspiratory center, but together they will act as the respiratory rhythm center. So just now whatever we told, that is the chemosensitive area. Okay, chemosensitive area. So this chemosensitive area is present adjacent to that respiratory rhythm center. Okay, so whatever that respiratory rhythm center which is present in the medullary region, just adjacent to that this particular chemosensitive area is also present. And what this chemosensitive area will do? Generally, it will send signals to the respiratory rhythm center. Okay. For example, here in this picture, as we told, this is the respiratory rhythm center. Okay. So just adjacent to that, here suppose this, if it is, okay, if it is a chemosensitive area, okay, chemosensitive area. So this chemosensitive area, it will give signals to this respiratory rhythm center. Okay. But when it will send those signals to the respiratory rhythm center? Whenever it recognizes a more amount of the CO2 and more amount of the hydrogen ions in our blood. Okay. When it recognizes a more amount of the CO2 and more amount of the hydrogen ions. So when it senses such a condition, immediately it gives signals to the adjacent center, that is of the respiratory rhythm center. Okay, to the respiratory rhythm center, so that according to that our respiration rate can be maintained. Okay, that means it increases the respiration rate so that the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen concentrations can be decreased by more supply of the oxygen. That means here indirectly they are saying whenever there is a more CO2 or a more H+, that indicates less levels of the oxygen. So that's why to increase that oxygen levels in our body, the respiration rate will be increased. So that is why they told the chemosensitive area, once it senses this increased levels of the CO2 and the hydrogen ions, immediately it gives signals to the respiratory rhythm center so that according to that it can make the adjustments. And the last one, that is of the few of the receptors we can also see in the walls of the aortic arch and the carotid artery. Okay, in the aortic arch and the carotid artery. So, this is the heart. As we know that heart consists of 4 chambers. So, this is of the right atrium, this is of the left atrium, this is of the right ventricle, this is of the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, here one of the blood vessels starts. So, that is called as the systemic artery or otherwise aorta. Okay, it actually carries the oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood, because through this left auricle, it receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. Okay, left auricle receives oxygenated blood from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. So, as it contains the rich amount of the oxygen, so that oxygenated blood, it should be sent to the body parts. Okay, so via this aorta or otherwise systemic artery. So, in that aortic arch, okay, so in that aortic arch, in the walls of that aortic arch, okay, in the walls of that aortic arch, yes, there are some of the receptors are present. Okay, some receptors are present which can sense the high amounts of CO2 and whenever there is a high amounts of hydrogen ions. Okay, means when the circulation is going on, simply these receptors will monitor the levels of carbon dioxide and hydrogen ion concentration. As it should carry a more oxygenated blood, there definitely the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen levels should be less. Suppose if in any of the situation when it receives the signals of more carbon dioxide and more hydrogen, yes, definitely what it will do is it actually sends signal to again respiratory rhythm center. As a how the chemosensitive area is giving signals to the respiratory rhythm center. The same way the receptors which are located in the aortic arch and as well as that is in the carotid artery, they will give signals to the respiratory rhythm center so that it increases the rate and depth of the breathing. Okay, breathing. A rate of breathing means, yes, whatever the normal respiration rate, 12 to 16 times we said, more than that it actually supports to go for it. Okay, so more respiration to occur. The same way, depth rate also will be increased. So depth in the sense, the amount of air actually which will inhale, the maximum capacity try to get into the lungs. Okay, so that is what they told, increase the rate and the depth of the breathing. Okay, so here in that receptors which are associated with the aortic arch and the carotid artery. So in the diagram we have actually observed the aortic arch, but where is this carotid artery? So when the aorta actually divides, okay, so it forms this particular artery, it gives rise to left and the right carotid artery, okay, carotid artery, which will go towards this particular area, that is near the neck. Through the neck it will go towards the jaw. Okay, so the blood vessel which carry blood towards these jaw structures, that is towards the left side and as well as the right side. Okay, those are the carotid arteries. So in those walls also, as we told, as like that of the aortic arches, these receptors are present. Okay, so in this way all these together they helps in regulation of respiration. Okay, so respiration rhythm center present in medulla and it helps normal regulation of respiration. The second, pneumotaxic center, which is present in the pons region, that is in the brainstem, and it helps to reduce the duration of the respiration and alter the respiratory rate. And the third, chemosensitive area. So that chemosensitive area is present just adjacent to the respiratory rhythm center and which gives in the signals to the respiratory rhythm center, so that according to that it can make the adjustment. And this chemosensitive area and the receptors which are present in this aortic arch and the carotid artery, both are actually able to sense the levels of CO2 and hydrogen ions. So whenever these levels are very high, yes, definitely immediately they will give signals to the respiratory rhythm center so that it helps to increase the rate and depth of the breathing. so that whatever the oxygen demand is there in our body, that can be fulfilled. Okay, so that is about the regulation of the respiration. So in this diagram, they have mentioned one more center that is called as the apneustic center. And this apneustic center is just present below this pneumotaxic center. Okay, pneumotaxic center, which is itself located in the pons viroli of the brain. And this apneustic center actually recommends to go for rapid breath. Okay, that means the breath rate here it will increases. Just opposite to the function of the pneumotaxic center. As we have studied, pneumotaxic center actually promote shallow breaths. Okay, shallow, slow process of the respiration. But whereas in the case of the apneustic center, the respiration process will be like fasten up. Okay, so that is the difference between this pneumotaxic center and the apneustic center. Both are opposite to each other in their function. So as a note here, we have to mention that nowhere here we have studied the role of oxygen in the entire process of the regulation. Okay, here only we have said that the carbon dioxide concentrations and the hydrogen ion concentrations, yes, they can alter the respiration. But nowhere here we have mentioned that oxygen plays any role in the regulation of this respiration.